Thanks for joining us. Very exciting. I did my own brand review yesterday, so I've done this myself already.
It's a good exercise, actually. This going through the questions, it was just like, ooh, actually, I've not thought of that.
Yeah, it's I've done them with a few clients already. Going through the motions at the minute, and actually they're I'm asking certain questions and I go, oh, I've not really thought about it that way before. So it's really useful. But I just do it with them at the end of every year to make sure they're happy with things, or see if they're going to work on the right things next year. Because sometimes we think we're going to work on something, but actually it's other things that probably need more of our focus.
It sets your intentions then, doesn't it, for the next year?
Yeah, definitely. We've got two Sarahs.
Oh, there's always more than one of us.
It's very confusing. I'll have to use your surnames as well.
It's gonna be like being back at school. It's like Sarah C. Put your hand up, Sarah E.
Are you a child of the 80s, Sarah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
I think that's what it is. There's about 6 Sarahs in my year at school, so it was always Sarah C, Sarah B, Sarah R.
The same, absolutely.
I think you're right. Yeah, we had a lot of Sarahs at school.
Have you ever met another Fliss?
I've never met another Fliss, but one of my best friends has a good friend called Fliss, and someone I work with has just named her daughter Fliss.
Oh, that's a compliment. That's a massive compliment.
I know. I don't like. Everyone's coming in now. Bear with me. Got to add everyone. I don't like my name Felicity, which is why I call myself Fliss. But it's really weird. I'm not used to having people called the same name. Hi guys, I've got you on mute, but please do unmute yourselves. It was just in case anyone had like the washing machine going when they came in or whatever. So I've got a few people I know. Nice to see everybody. I'm going to change my view so I can see everybody the same actually. There we go. Right, has everybody got the worksheet? You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it's actually just quite useful to use the worksheet after the session to just go through everything. So if you've not got it, I can put it in the chat.
Be good.
And we'll wait till everybody's in to make sure. Wonder how many more people are joining us. I'll just wait another minute. So how's everybody's Thursday gone? All right. Ready to ask some big questions? If anybody, so Leanne knows full well, and Caroline, poor Caroline, really knows this. I'm probably going to ask why a lot today. Caroline's laughing because I grilled her in front of everybody once. So be prepared for me to say, but why? Right, I don't know if anyone else is joining us. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that worksheet into the chat if anyone doesn't have it. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can just, I think I do it this way. Has that come through in the chat?
Yeah.
Fabulous, right. So, second. Just hide my phone so I don't get distracted by people messaging me. Hide the chat. So you can, how it's going to work is you can send messages to me in the chat, ask questions, but just speak up. I want to have a conversation about this. So like what one person says will be useful for other people. So don't be scared of asking questions and sharing your thoughts. So let me share my screen. Don't think anyone else is coming in just yet, but I'll keep my eye on it. Oh, yes, here's someone else. Right. Share my screen, guys. Make sure I can see you all. That's lovely. There we go. Right. So, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Fabulous. So yes, thanks for joining me today. So I'm Fliss. So I was just saying that I've done a few brand reviews with my clients at the lately. Oh, just admit more people. So the idea is at the end of the year, they'll do a bit of a review of what's working and what isn't working in their brand. And so when they're setting the goals for next year, they can really make sure they're focusing on the right things. So for example, this year, my focus this year was to reaffirm who I am and what I stand for. And I realized that I needed to redo my visual identity because everything had been done ad hoc. So that was my focus for the year. So when I did my review, I knew that that's what I needed to do this year. So that is the purpose of a brand review, and it means you're not doing things that you actually don't need to be doing, and you keep doing the things that are actually working for you as well, which is super important. So right, so first question is why are we doing this? The whole point is to know that your brand's working. I want to celebrate what is working. It's not just about going, oh, this is all rubbish, but also look at what you want to improve next year. And I think it's also really useful to give you a bit of a hierarchy of what is working, in terms of you might want to focus on one thing rather than another thing and put something into the year after, or focus on certain things at the first half of the year and certain things in the second half of the year to what's like the biggest priority. So that's why you're doing it. Also, so when you're setting goals, I know Ant's been talking about that this week, you're setting goals so that you know that the tasks you're doing to hit those goals are actually the right tasks, because there's no point doing things that aren't actually going to get you to where you want to be. So that is why we're doing this. And so if you've got the worksheet and you want to work through it, feel free to. If not, use pen and paper and write this down, but I will pick on certain people if nobody volunteers to kind of work through this with me. So we're going to start thinking about how you feel about your brand right this minute, because you'll have a gut feeling about what's working, what's not working. So how do you feel about your brand right now? So we're going to look at what is working and what isn't working. So does anybody want to start? Leanne's deep in thought.
I think I probably I'll start, but I just think my brand very much has been, well, it's non-existent, it's overlooked. I've just kind of ignored it. I am my own worst client. As you know, Fliss, I just overthink things until my brain gets completely muddled, and I can't move forward because I don't know where to start. And then I feel like I can't do this, that, and the other until all my ducks are in a row. And then of course, no one ever has everything exactly set up how they want. But because in my head, I haven't, I don't end up making any progress.
Okay, so what is working for you? Because I know you've done a lot of work on your brand this year.
Well, I've done a lot of work in the background of it. So I'm a lot through having my sessions with you. I think I'm a lot clearer about what I need to be saying, and where I need to be saying it. I haven't got to the point yet where I am really saying anything. I think I started and then I just got really busy with work and so I had to put it on the back burner again. But I'm more aware now of how important it is for my brand to be where it should be across everything that I'm doing. So I'm trying to set aside some time now to work on that and redo all my website and everything and get the copyright for that. And I'm going to work with a copywriter, I think, for that, just because I'm the kind of, I could spend 3 weeks fettling it at my copy and it wouldn't be quite how I want it to be. And then that's 3 weeks that I'm not doing something else, when I could just pay a copywriter to do it and they'll get it done in 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. hold that thought for the next kind of section, because that is going to be very valid. So anyone else want to say what is and isn't working on their brand? Sarah?
I think I'm very much in Leanne's boat as well. It's like cobbler's children. It's like every time you start to think about yourself, it gets put on the back burner for like other pieces of work or other projects, or like, oh, I'll just do this, and I can procrastinate till the cows come home and just like do other little bits until I do my own stuff. It was actually through Leanne's story that I saw this workshop today, so I was like, oh, this is good, this will hopefully light a fire under me and get that going. So I've got the similar thing where copy, messaging. A few years ago, I sat down and worked really hard on my logo, and I'm really, really happy with my logo. But the rest of it doesn't really match up. Like, my website's not been updated in maybe 2 years. I've got all these projects that I've worked on and just haven't added them to my website. And then the messaging is just so wishy-washy compared to like people in the same industry, in the same sector as me, because I kind of straddle both graphic design and illustration. So it was getting my head around like, oh, do I go like the full illustrative route? Do I go pure design? So I managed to kind of marry together the different elements until it kind of represented me, because like you're a part of your business and your branding at the end of the day. So I wanted something that would represent like some of my personality and the way I work. So I feel really happy with my logo, but then everything else, there's literally nothing else kind of gearing around it, and your branding isn't just your logo at the end of the day, because this is what I tell my clients. So I kind of need to work and getting my ducks in a row with everything that way.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back to what Leanne said. Leanne said she's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. That is still work. Mm-hmm. You are clear on where you stand. You just haven't put it across your touch points. So it's that, think about what you have done and what you've got in your head that you kind of got clarity around as well, because just because it's not actually on your website doesn't mean that you haven't done the work.
Arguably that's the hardest part as well, like deciding what you want to, the direction and the things like that. That's the kind of the bit that you don't see. That's normally the hardest part, I find.
Oh, totally. It took me quite a while to get it right for myself, and it's what I do for a living, so because it's in your head. Anyone else, or has anyone got any questions on this one? No, we shall move on to the next one. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about what your brand stands for, and what's your reason for that rating? Wayne?
I think we know what our brand stands for, but we don't have a prominent brand, I think. So like what Sarah and Leanne were saying before, I think we're sort of all over the place with things. But in terms of like what our mission is or whatever, I think we're very clear on that.
Okay. Yeah. So this next question might be very good for you. So how clear are you about what your messaging is and why?
So that's well lower. I think we've started on social media, I think, to try and get that message out a bit more. We've got no website though. So yeah, it is kind of, that's where we are with things. I think we know our message, like the other people saying, but getting it out there is where we're sort of falling behind, I suppose.
Okay, so it might be like an 8 or a 9 for what you stand for, maybe even a 10, and then how clear on what your messaging is and why be.
That could be a 1 or a 0.
No, I don't think it'll be that low, but yeah.
Okay, but yeah, a lot lower, yeah.
Because if you start separating it out and doing a scale of 1 to 10 is really useful, because you can actually, it really starts helping you to think about this. So Debbie's saying she thinks she'd struggle to rate it as she doesn't think she's properly articulated it in her head. Okay, so Debbie, you're struggling to understand what your brand stands for.
Yeah, I've been running my own business for the last 6 years, but the last year I've been working. Gosh, it's suddenly gone very dark behind me. But I've been the last year sort of in deep in a contract with a charity. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of coming out of that now and kind of feeling that, okay, maybe I need to really kind of think about it and what that means for me sort of going forward. I've got clients I work with, they could probably tell you better than I could that, who Debbie is and what she's about, etc. Yeah, I think sort of having that tightness around it would be really, really sort of helpful, because then there'd probably be a bit clearer in terms of the messaging and yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so whoever wants to chip in on this one, just chip in. How confident are you in your services? So on a scale of 1 to 10, and why would that be? And
yeah, so it's interesting because I mean, all the other questions here I feel quite good about. Like, I think the brands, people can identify the brand that goes to events, and people actually know who I am before I even meet them, which is great. It's a great position to be in. I know what I'm trying to do, what it stands for, and I'm happy with the messaging. I think this bit about the services, confident in the services, is a bit where I struggle. In staff, really, it's always like I go to events and people say I'd love to sort of like look in a chart, that sort of thing with you. I come away thinking, why? Why do I do that? And it's staff because the people I've worked with, the clients I've had, have really, really enjoyed what I'm doing. So I should really have the confidence in the services. I think parts of it is because I've just started up, just over a year ago. I'm still finding my feet a little bit in terms of what works and what doesn't work.
yeah,
So I'm almost like worried that I'm going to go out there, and I guess it's like typical imposter syndrome. I'm going to get found out. I want to do more group stuff next year. I've never done group stuff before. Will it work logistically? And the answer is simple. It's just go out there and try it. Try it, do the alpha test, the beta test, and that sort of thing. But that's the bit where I'm falling down, really, is having that confidence behind what I'm actually providing as a service.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because that threads through in how you talk about your services, directly linked to your customers. But then also I regularly with my clients work through structuring services, because if your services don't make sense, if they're not structured in the right way and they don't make sense to your clients, you can't actually sell them and talk about them. So yeah, it's a bit chicken and egg. Right, so we'll move on from that for now, because we've got a few other sections to go through. We're going to look in more detail about each of your touch points. So your touch points are everywhere that not just your customers, but your audience will come into contact with you. So it might be your social media, it might be your website, it might be how you deal with them on the phone or via email. It can also be your processes, which is a big thing. So it's something you can do is you can plot a customer journey and what your customer needs at every point on that journey. So processes come into this. So like when they're signing on with you, for example, what is the experience they get? Because that really turns them into an advocate then, and then they will refer you to someone else. So on a scale of 1 to 10 again. So just write down now the list of all your touch points. I've done a few in the worksheet. So I've done website, social media, processes. I think I've done something else, but I can't remember what it was. So maybe just think about one of your touch points for now. How happy are you with that particular touch point? I'm going to pick on Francesca because she's looking puzzled.
I'm always looking puzzled. That's just my face.
What touch point are you thinking of?
I'm going with Instagram because it's probably the one that I spent most time on, and because what I do is visual, I feel like that's where people will be sort of hanging out. I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm sort of hitting my stride with it a little bit. I concern myself sometimes with, I don't want to be too salesy. Like, I don't want to constantly be like, book a meeting, do this. I want to be able to offer a lot of value. So something informative, but also a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of me, so people know. The way I'm sort of playing it with Instagram, I think, is I want people to enjoy following and enjoy what I'm doing, so that I'm in the back of their minds when they come to go, I'm struggling with this. Maybe I'd just like to sit down with Francesca for half an hour and see what she thinks, and bring kind of people in. I think it's more of a long-term game strategy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what number would you say in terms of how happy you are with it?
I'm gonna go with 6.5.
6.5. Okay. So what, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well is it working for you? Like, is it bringing in leads? Are you getting customers from it?
I don't know just yet, if that makes sense. I feel like I don't know if I'm just sort of hoping at the minute that I'm visible enough that I am in people's minds, and that they're enjoying it for now. I'm wondering if a conversion will kind of come later, if that makes sense.
They could be a little bit lower at the minute, maybe because you don't quite know and you've not got any evidence of it.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with 5.
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? Anyone else want to talk about a particular touch point?
I think it's easy to get a bit sort of feast and famine with things, isn't it? So you end up having your kind of favourite, in that week. Because I want to focus on more on LinkedIn, I guess a lot of my energy goes into that. But then I know that from a local point of view, Facebook and the network of creators and Instagram should be good spots as well. But again, it's about getting some balance there. The website is always, I have it done and I go, I kind of think, but I think it always goes back to, is it nailed in my head who I'm for and what I'm about? So that's where everything kind of springs from, really.
So do you think LinkedIn is working for you, Debbie?
Yeah, very much so.
It's working and you're happy with it?
Yeah, definitely. It's probably 100% the best sort of for lead generation for me in terms of conversations, but I guess a lot of that comes from referrals and also the in-person activity I do. So yeah.
Okay, so the good thing to do is do this for every one of your touch points. Who wants to talk about the website and how the website's working for them? Rebecca?
I don't mind talking about this one. So I'm fairly new business setup, so about 7 months, and my husband is a web designer. So we try to figure out the best, cheapest way to get a website online where I don't have to pay like a monthly subscription. So we've managed to do that, but it's literally just a portfolio at the minute because I'm an interior designer. So that was my focus, was get my stuff online. It's literally one page, it's super simple. There's a bit of text at the top, a bit of text at the bottom in contacting me, and then just like lots of portfolio, pretty pictures to look at. And I'm happy with how it looks. I don't know if loads of people click it or not, but it works for now. But I'm at a point now where I know I need to like build on it. I'm going to start a newsletter and things like that. So I need to sort of get like an about page, maybe something to do with services on there, and just like a bit more like beef it out a bit basically, and get like a newsletter link on there. So I know that's where I need to go to like improve it, but it does work well for what it's doing currently, and I'm happy with how it looks.
So you're happy with it, it's working currently, but you know that you need to add some other bits, so maybe it's working as well as it could be, because you need like a bit more information on there. Is that?
I know I don't direct people to it much because I know there's not like a huge amount there. So I know that when it's got all the stuff, I can be like, hey, just go to my website and you can find out all of this information. So I'm hoping that it'll be a bit better when that information is on there.
Okay, cool. Anyone else want to chip in, or has anyone got any questions on touch points? Francis, do you want to give us some ideas, or Taryn? Can't see your lovely faces, but I know you're there. I think they're there.
Can
anyway.
you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really want to show my face today. I'm pretty new to the whole video thing, but as for my touch points, it's a bit weird because I'm at a stage in my business where I've been running my photography business for over 10 years.
Mm.
And I know I want to up level, but it's such minute things at this point that I find it quite hard to know, is this actually going to make a difference and things like that. But I guess probably the hardest one for me is always Instagram, because as a wedding photographer, you're not building a connection with someone for a really long time. It's like once and then they're gone. So yeah, it's kind of finding a strategy that works on Instagram that, I don't know, that helps me reach people without completely killing my engagement, because it's only applicable for people for a very short period in their life. So yeah, I would say a 7 for happy with Instagram, but for actually working for me, maybe a 5.
Okay, yeah, and that's where these 2 questions are really useful, because you might be happy with something, but it's not totally working for you. So you can understand sort of how what you can work on to make it work better. But then sometimes the other thing is you don't want to be somewhere where you're not. So Instagram is perfect for you, Francis, because it's visual. And I found my wedding photographer, well, I already knew her, but I found her on Instagram. Perfect, but it might be totally irrelevant for somebody else, for example, and your audience might be more LinkedIn. They're quite different audiences, so it's about being in the right places for your audience, because otherwise you're putting effort in for no reason and there's absolutely no point. And doing a few things really well rather than trying to be across them all is key. So this is really good exercise to actually say, is that actually really working for me and should I be doing it? So one of my things when I did my review is, I like my blog, it's not getting loads of traction at the minute, so I need to relook at whether actually blogging is the right thing for me and how I approach it, and if I change it up in a different way or not. So touch points are really important. Before we go on to talking about your audience, because then obviously I've just mentioned your audience, has anyone got any more questions on touch points? And I think internal processes is a really good one, actually. I just want to go back to that, because if your processes are working and your customers are getting different things from you at different places, that's a touch point. It might be at different places, but think about, do you actually know that you're actively doing the same thing for every customer? It's not something as small businesses we actually sit and actually take time to plot out. But if you know that you're at the end of a project, for example, you are sending a client the final output of whatever you've done for them, and you're saying, at that point, you're saying, I'd love it if you could review me, because then I can help other people like yourself. And if that's your process and you do it for every client, then you're going to build up more reviews as well. So it's just things that will help you to then grow and grow and grow as well. But if you're doing it consistently, then every customer's getting exactly the same service from you, which is what you want. You know, we don't tend to do it as small businesses, but it really does help, and it actually makes our lives a lot easier because it gives us time to do other things. Oh, hello. I love Ken.
Sorry, he always has to get involved in Zoom meetings, sorry.
Oh, well, he can join in if he wants.
What do you think, Daryl? Actually, I had like a point I wanted to make there as well. I'd be really, I don't know if this is like the point of the meeting today, but I would be really eager to learn if anyone's got any tips of getting people to leave testimonials, because every time I complete a project and my client's like, this was amazing, it was really lovely to work for you, most of the time. And I'll say, oh, fantastic. Well, if you can leave me a review, and then I'll send the links to like my Google Business, my Facebook, and they'll go, yeah. And then nothing, even though they said they had a really good experience. Or like, I'll say, you know, if there's anything you think didn't work, is there a way that I can make like my process, my service better for future projects with you or other clients? But yeah, it's the extracting like those. I know some people take what people say in the email and like, you know, in the correspondence and put that on the website, but obviously that doesn't translate into like Google reviews and stuff like that.
Does anyone got any tips for what they do?
In terms of getting reviews, I've created a landing page. Sorry.
Does that work for you, Debbie?
Yeah, I've created a landing page on my website that gives people sort of various ways in which they can recommend me. There's a direct link to my LinkedIn page, direct link to Google, direct, again, just to, or they can email me, again, whatever works for you, really. And I keep that on my, I think I've still got my footer on my email as well. And I've got it on my invoices, that link, again, so there's various opportunities that people might want to, dip in. Again, sometimes it's, I've probably got people often ask for reviews and recommendations. I go, right, I put them on my list. If I don't do it straight away, then I've kind of it does fall off, doesn't it? But sort of generally, I know it could jump on it straight away. Don't think about it too much. It comes across much more natural. So it's kind of catching them in that kind of hot moment. But again, that's, you don't know what else is on everyone's to-do list, do you? That's the thing. We don't have that crystal ball, do we? So it's there. It's so it's then it's an easy link that I can send to people. But I think analytics will tell me whether it's worth it or not, and the addition of reviews certainly helps as a bit of a prompt every now and again. I think if I kind of give someone a bit of help, maybe a bit of advice by DM or something, I go, hey, would you mind if, because then they kind of feel like they, oh, come on, Debbie's just helped me out for free. I could take me 2 seconds to do something. I think that's the kind of the moment to catch people.
Right, I always try and catch people right at the moment where they're going, oh, thanks so much, you've really helped me.
That's what I'm doing. I'm literally after that email when but I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Making it as easy as possible. Like, I'll send links to people, but if I do set up maybe like a dedicated landing page and say like leave a review, and then it's just one place, but Russell, they don't think, oh, do I do it on Google, do I do it on Facebook? Then it's just there.
Exactly. You kind of have to, you have to kind of like absolutely kind of serve it up to them, like, so they can't go anywhere else. You can't just say, hey, you'll find a button on my website somewhere. Good luck with that. Search me on Google. He's like, just take me to it. Just take me to it.
Make it as easy as possible. Great. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, that's a good tip, actually. Very good tip. I love that. I'm going to take that, Debbie. Thanks. Right. So audience. So your audience is obviously crucial through all this. Everything I do, I'm always talking about, what do your customers want? So a bit of homework for you. You won't be able to do this right now because I didn't tell you to do it before this meeting. So ask your audience how they describe your business and what their experience of you was. Now, your audience is your customers, but it's not just your customers. You could ask people on you could do something on LinkedIn. There's different ways you can ask them. So it might be partners you work with. So I work with a few partner businesses, so I often ask them what they think of me and my business and what their experience is. You can go through your emails of what people have said. If you're having a conversation with a client, you can say, oh, can I just see what you think of, how you describe my business, or what's your experience been? Just collate this, because then that's really crucial to see if A, you're coming across in the right way, and B, you can kind of learn about what they need from you and wanted from you at that point. So that's just going to be ever growing then. To do that when you get the chance, just going to check the chat. Debbie sent her link round, so I can share that with anybody afterwards. In fact, let me share that now. Oh, I can't find the chat. I'm not used to Zoom, guys. I use Google Meets. So I'm going to copy Debbie's and share it with everybody, so you can go on and look if you want, before we move on.
So it's kind of like a link tree in effect, but basically within my own site. So it's kind of performing the same sort of function.
Well, we will take a look at that. Thank you, Debbie. So audience. So let's think about your clients that you've worked with this year. We're just talking about 2022 here. So this is just going to be a rough thing, but what percentage of them were your ideal client this year? Taryn? Is she there? She's gone off for a brew, hasn't she? Anyone else want to chip in? Francesca?
Just doing some percentage maths.
You have to be exact, just rough.
The teacher in me. I reckon we'll say 75%. But actually, I didn't know they were my ideal client until I got them. And then I was like, yes, you are actually who I want to work with.
Right, interesting. So, do you know how they found you?
Yes. One of them came through like word of mouth through a friend, and the other one came through someone that I used to work with, but then she kind of followed me through social media, and I actually weirdly felt a little bit like I was cheating because they hadn't come sort of organically, strangers through any of my touch points kind of thing. They'd come through, but I guess that doesn't really make a difference. They'd seen what I did. Yeah,
one of the best ways you can actually get clients is referrals, because they already trust you at that point. Like you might use Instagram to nurture people, and it's a lot longer journey, but if somebody's referring them, they already trust you, so it's a lot quicker to get them to speak to you, which is what you want. And then, do you know what they thought of you? This is where the homework to go back and ask them is useful, because you can actually go and ask them those questions.
One of them, who I probably wouldn't say is my ideal client actually, but was quite pleased, I think, because I'd sort of helped her with stuff that I didn't really think. It was when I'd literally first started out. I didn't really think that that's what I was supposed to be helping her with, and I'd helped her with something else in a way. And then, because my other two clients are still brand new, I don't really know what they think yet, but working with Gemma, and we were having a conversation about messaging and brand voicing and all that stuff. And I was sort of surprised that what she got from me wasn't initially kind of what I thought she might want, and it sort of fed back into the same sort of thing. So that helped me clarify actually what I do want to be doing with people, which is why I think the clients I've got coming in are my ideal clients.
And that's really good, because often what people think they want or need isn't actually what they think they want or need. So pinpointing with Gemma what she actually got from you is the key when you're speaking to your clients as well, because if at the end of it, if you find out what they've actually got from you, that is really what they need. They don't know they need that, but it's kind of the outcome.
And it was the same as what the other person said.
Interesting.
So that's like cool. That's what I need to do now.
That is perfect. Caroline, we've not heard much from you yet, but what percentage of your clients are your ideal clients? Oh, I think you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself? No. Somebody want to jump in while Caroline kind of sends something on chat or unmutes? Wayne?
I'd say around 75% probably. In terms of like the adults with disabilities we're working with, at least, often we'll get people referred who are interested in work, and that's sort of the people who are not our ideal clients, but anyone who sort of wants to work is. So I guess it's around that kind of figure. In terms of how they found us, it's all sorts of different ways. So some is word of mouth and referrals from people we know and things like that. Some through DWP, and just all sorts of referrals. I think generally they think highly of us. So let's say that's a good, a nice high score for that one.
That's good. That's amazing. And it's really good to keep track of where people find you as well, because that's clearly the channels that are working for you as well.
Yeah.
Caroline?
Sorry, I'm doing it on my phone and I've never done it on my phone before. Have I done it now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So mine's, I'd say 50, because as you know, I'm just sort of changing who my ideal client is. So, and I am moving towards that, but I know that I need to change my messaging. So that's what my focus is, you know, at the end of this year, to really be speaking to a new audience.
And of the 50% that were your ideal client, do you know how they found you?
Yeah, they're either collaborations where someone else I've met in person has wanted to bring me in on something with them, or I've met, just happened, they're a bit chance at the moment, you know, like I've met a person who's like, oh, we need you, or on LinkedIn where I've just, someone's put something out there and I've just had a conversation with them. So it's me at the moment rather than anything I'm putting out there.
Yeah, I would argue to say if people are meeting you and saying we need you, you're saying something right, because they know that you are the person that they need.
Yeah, because I guess I change what I say to be right for that person that I'm speaking to, but all my socials are not speaking to my ideal client now. You know, that's what I need to address.
Yeah. So that's interesting, because going back to your touch points, so sort of one-to-one networking is probably working really well for you, but your social media not so well. Okay, fabulous. Any questions on this? So if you can change your messaging, get everything like really, 2 years ago, I was probably 65% ideal client. This year, I've just done my review yesterday, say 95%, maybe even a touch more, is my ideal client. And that's just because I worked on really knowing who they were and the messaging of what I put out. So if you pinpoint what isn't working and how, and really work on that, it'll just completely change it really quickly. So it's worth keeping tabs on who your ideal client is. So numbers. So I don't believe that numbers are kind of like the be all and end all, but it's good to keep track of them, just to kind of benchmark each year. So if you do this review every year, you can go, oh, right, okay, so my followers have grown X amount this year, or I've met more people this year, for example. So if we start by looking at your website, if you've got a website, you can go on your analytics. You can do this later if you can't get into them. So looking at your page views, your visitor details, what your most popular content is, that kind of gives you an idea of how well your website's working and what people are finding you for. So that's really useful. So for example, if people are looking at your home and about, but they're not actually looking at your services, that suggests that either you're not directing them to your services, or there's something stopping them from going that kind of far. What are your most common keywords as well on your website? So what are you being found for? And it's not necessarily something that we as small, like especially when you're starting out, that you focus on, but you can kind of get an idea of what they're searching you for. For example, so they might be searching so Francesca, they might be searching for interior styling leads, so they might find you that way, or they might be searching 155 interior design, so that means they're finding you through referrals because they know the business name. So it's just interesting to see how they're finding you.
I'm just trying to look on my analytics now, but I don't know where they all are. Do you know what? I sort of got myself into a hole with the website where I thought it's not doing its job and I don't want to send people there. And so when I first set it up, I was like, I'm going to check my analytics all the time and see where it's landing. And then because I decided I didn't like it anymore, I was like, I'm just going to ignore it. So yeah, I think it's interesting what you say about what pages are they looking at. Are they going as far as services? But then I think, I don't know if in fact, I know I'm not clear enough on what I do through that website. That means I think if you're going to be looking for styling, that isn't my main kind of goal, if that makes sense. So there's a lot I think I need to do around messaging through that website to track them analytics and the keywords.
And that's why looking at what kind of is getting traction on your website is useful as well, because it helps you understand what isn't working. The whole services thing, for example, or you might have particular blogs that are really popular, and so it's that subject that people are interested in, but you can benchmark whether that is actually something that is what you want to be talking about or not. So it's just quite useful to kind of keep tabs on the number. And then you can also see how the views change through the year as well. So what about your connections and your social followers? How have they changed in the last year? How have they grown? Obviously you may not have kept tabs of them. You can kind of sometimes go back and look in social media channels. This isn't just to do with social media though, it could be also to do with people you've met networking. How has that grown and changed? It's just good to just keep tabs of them. Does anyone do this currently?
I'd be shitting my top if I didn't. So I do kind of see it go up and down, and obviously because when I'm certain posts I'm doing, I'm have a kind of reaction in mind, and whether that is I'm driving traffic, I want to go and see if it actually did that. So yeah, so I do keep a check on stuff like that.
It's something that I only do ad hoc. I wanted to start tracking my social followers every month, and I'll be honest, I put my hands up, I forget, but you can kind of go back and look, and I have seen mine grown, which is great. But it's also be realistic on how you want them to grow. You might not need a massive audience, so what's right for you as well, not just I'm not growing by hundreds every month. That's fine for you, for example.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so just keep tabs on this. So if you go and do this again next year and you've written them down this year, you can kind of benchmark. The thing I find useful as well is, what are your most popular pieces of content on social media? So I do brand tips and all sorts of things, and 2-3 weeks ago I posted about McDonald's on LinkedIn, and it got 43,500 impressions and a lot of comments. Now, it was useful, it was brand related. So what I did was I went, why is that getting so much more traction to my other posts? And it was to do with the way I told the story. It was a storytelling piece. So that's made me go, okay, right, great, that worked really well, I need to do more stuff like that. So that's where this is useful. So if you do like loads of tips and things and they're not getting traction, but certain things are, then that suggests that that's what your audience are interested in. So it's really good to kind of benchmark, okay, what is working for me. So does anyone know what the most popular pieces are?
I think it was an old photograph of me from years ago on a snowy mountain in Aviemore with my sister, and it was just an about me piece. That's it. And it's like going, all the tips, all the advice, it's like going, yeah, it's always just a face or a dog. It'll work every time. Yeah.
Right, though. It is, yeah, you can post a picture of your
Yeah.
face and everyone loves it, and then you post something really valuable, and it's,
Yeah.
but also on this, it's not just, obviously it's not just your likes, it's your comments and your saves and things like
Yeah.
that. The first thing I look at on my post is how many people have saved it, especially my tip,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's quite high.
So from a strategic point of view, put up something in your face and talk about something sort of personal, and then follow up within a couple of days, day or two, with something that is about your business and your services, because they're already kind of like a bit warmed up then to you, because they've interacted with a prior post. So that's would be my top strategy to take advantage of that.
Yeah, you're right. So don't stop doing that sort of post.
Yeah.
Do it regularly. Who wants to share what their most popular types of content are?
I could Fliss, because it's about the powerful stories, you know, when people are working and involved in the community. And I think when we work with adults with learning disabilities, there's a lot of kind of pre-existing stereotypes about who should work and who shouldn't and what kind of jobs they could do. So a lot of our stories that are popular kind of smash those stereotypes, and it's really great to see. And it is that storytelling and bringing it to life. They're our most popular posts, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has it. I definitely see that as people love a story, and also I think it makes it tangible as well. Really helps you people to understand what you do because it's more tangible. So I don't know if anyone else has the same experience. It's just working out the best way to do it for your business as well, which can be hard sometimes. But if you can hit on that, then even if you're telling a client story like yourselves, you know, the experience, people really understand it. Okay, so we'll move on. I want to talk about if you've got an email list. Francesca's screwing her face up. You might not have an email list, so it's fine, but has it grown this year? If so, how much by? What were the open and click rates and the unsubscribes? So for example, you might have a really great open rate, but your click rate might be low, and that just sort of suggests that perhaps you're not getting people, something's working, people want to read your emails, but there's something stopping them going to the next step. So anyone want to comment on their emails? Who has an email list here?
I've just started one.
So Caroline and Francesca. So Caroline, so you won't have seen it grown,
Well,
obviously.
No, so I've only just started it, and it's for my female leaders interviews, which are also my most successful posts, because it's a post with an image of a woman, so it's a real person and it's something about their story. So they are my most successful posts, and that's what my email list I'm starting. And I can see it could get quite addictive. You know, when you see names and you're like, oh, I know them, I know that. Oh, who are they? You know, but it is quite new, and that's really useful, that idea of following up a really popular one. I actually wouldn't have thought of that previously. So that's on my list now as part of my social media strategy.
Francesca, you put your hand up as well for email.
No, my email list is just irritating me, because, do you know, it's a bit like what Leanne said at the start. She knows what she wants to do, but there's lots of different things that you feel like you've got to put in place before you get to do that bit. And I know that I need to do it. I know, I talked about it yesterday with someone. I know that I just want to get clear on what I'm putting in it. And I feel like it's not really going to many people at the minute. So it's kind of knowing how to grow it.
Yeah.
And I've felt like I was feeling stressed because I didn't have something that much to say kind of every month or whatever. So trying to work out a way of doing it like a newsletter where it's just tidbits, something. So it's definitely on my list of something to do. But I need to kind of work out how to get people in more and subscribe to it, I think.
Yeah, don't do something unless you are really clear on why and how and what and everything, because otherwise, like you said, it'll just put more stress on you. Park that, sort the other things out, and then come back to it when it's going to be right for you. Like, it's obvious Caroline's female leaders one is obviously perfect because people want to know more, so that's totally clear. But if you're not clear on the email, and also emails might not be right for you, might not be right for you and your audience, so that's fine. There's many numbers you can look at. There's loads of different things you can look at. Sales figures are really useful. So you don't have to necessarily, don't share your sales figures or anything right now, but it's really useful to look at the difference from last year, and then also what might have changed that's affected it, and then has anything else changed. So I'll just share my own perspective because I'm happy to do this. So I've kind of tweaked my services and really sort of changed my positioning. People last year and the year before were coming to me for visual identity, brand design. Now I'm doing like coaching and more strategic stuff. So there's been a complete shift in my services. So this year I thought, right, my sales figures are going to be down. And my year only starts at the beginning of August. But for this year, so far, it's actually, it is lower than last year, but it's not as low as I thought it could be. So that says to me, right, I knew it was going to be low because my services have changed, but actually something's working because I've completely stopped talking about one whole area of my business, which was probably my biggest income earner, and I'm still managing to make a living from this. So I know that something is working. I just know the reason why it's lower. So does anyone else kind of want to share anything on this? Doesn't matter if not. It's sometimes it's not the sort of thing we look at, but it's just quite useful to say, why has that happened? Or why is it growing massively? What have I done right that's caused that to happen? So that's very useful. I know we're coming up to 5 to 1, so I'm going to move on. So we've looked at how you feel about your brand at the beginning. This is starting to get to the whole purpose of this brand review. What do you think went well and not so well this year for you? Who wants to? Leanne?
I think not so well was that was that I worked with you, and that did make things clearer for me. Not so well was that I wasn't able to kind of keep up the momentum of that. So I feel like, you know, when I finished working with you, I was right in the mindset of where I needed to be. I was thinking of content. Oh, I could do posts on this and that. And then I got snowed under with work, and I feel like I need to get back into that mindset. So, but work-wise has been good. I haven't. I don't know. It depends on how you judge success, because financially, I've had the best year since I've been freelance. So, which will be 7 years in January. However, that isn't really through working with new clients. That was just, I think, having a little bit more confidence in myself and putting my prices up, which I was always a bit reticent to do. And my clients kind of stuck with it. Like, one of them was just like, absolutely, about time kind of thing, do it. But I want to be better at you know, promoting myself and getting work inquiries from other people, even if I'm too busy at the time to take the work on, just to be in people's minds as someone they can work with. But I feel I don't really show off what I do very well, and even on my website I don't really talk about what I do very well, so I'm trying to work on that. Yeah, I'm just I stay in my corner and just quietly work away at things, and then just hope people will somehow find out about me and what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, if you've had the best year yet, then something's working. And to be honest, if you don't need to promote yourself massively to get consistent income, then amazing.
Yeah, but I'm just always in the back of my mind, like, what if I lose? Because a couple of the clients that I have, they're very long-term clients, and what if I lose one of them?
Yeah, so I guess
I need to be in a position where I would know how to go about getting new clients quite quickly, and feel confident in myself that I could do that.
Okay. So did anyone have any goals for 2022? Did you set yourself any goals or focus of, maybe not a goal, but what do you want to focus on this year? Or did you want to focus on this year? It's nearly finished.
One of ours was for both Sarah and I to become paid by the company, because, as you know, we set up in lockdown basically. So that was something that we achieved this year. That was really good.
Okay, so how did you do with them? You achieved that?
There was some partnership work that brought us an income, and there was enough grants to support it as well.
Okay, great. So that kind of answers what helped you. So that's really vital to. The whole point of this is sort of what worked and what do we need to keep doing. It got us to that goal. Did anyone not hit any of their goals? Did you kind of start the year going, oh, I really want to do that, and you're in November now and you're thinking, I've not done that?
I was just going to say, I've looked, sorry, the cat's back now. Just dragging my laptop from my desk. Every year I set goals, like just literally just little notes in my phone. And it's always this time of year where I'm like, oh yeah, what were my New Year's resolutions? And I'll look through, and surprisingly, sometimes I have like just subconsciously embedded them in there.
Okay.
And they have come to fruition. But I've just looked on my phone now, and I didn't actually put any New Year's resolutions on my phone this year because I didn't achieve last year's. And it's the same goals I'm putting on every single year. It's like, start a little online shop and do some products, do more illustration work, do more personal projects, and they never happen. So I obviously got to the point now where I've literally just not put a to-do list in. So I think I need to actually do a to-do list for 2023. And this is why this exercise will be so good. But try and implement ways to actually achieve it, like even if I can afford to like have a Friday afternoon, every Friday afternoon, dedicate one task or one resolution for my business and see how that works out instead. Because just sticking it in a phone note and then waiting until the end of the year to see if I've done it or not, it's obviously not working.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes it's really hard to get sort of overtaken by client work and not focus on your own business as well, which is a mistake I have made in the past. But I worked really hard this year. So at the beginning of the year, I was inundated with client work, but I really knew I wanted to work on my own business. And I've got Rach, who does the business operations side of stuff for me now, which that really helped me to hit my goals, because it gave me some time back. But also I put some boundaries in place. I said, actually, I'm going to make sure that, like you, I'm actually going to do this year because I'm not getting any further ahead. So it's the next step on from this review is, now you know what isn't working, set your goals and then work on the things that will actually get you to those goals. Because you might think, oh, I need to do more on my messaging, or I actually need to sort my visuals out or something. So today, what have you learned about your brand? What has worked that you'll keep doing this year? Sarah?
I think probably it's about continuing to engage with our customers more and share our stories and know what they want. You know, it's that continued engagement that we need to keep doing, really. That's the big takeaway for me, I suppose.
Yeah, because that means that if it's working, not stop it, keep doing it. What didn't work that you can either change or stop doing? Like if you're on Facebook and your customers aren't there, don't bother is my tip. So has anyone got anything that they've gone, yeah, that's not working for me, so I'm actually going to stop it, or I'm going to change it? A bit like Francesca's email list, perhaps. I mean, you've probably got a huge long list. Rebecca, you got anything that you want to?
I find this one really hard because I've just started. I've got I only do 3 days a week, and I feel like I've got a to-do list the size of my arm that I'd love to get done, but I just can't. It's literally not possible. So I'd love to start doing a blog, so I develop my website so I can get some SEO. I want to start a newsletter. I'm on Instagram, but my clients aren't necessarily going to be there, but I actually enjoy Instagram and developing, meeting people. So I love that side of it. I know I need to be stronger on LinkedIn, but yeah, it's overwhelming, isn't it? Like the amount of stuff
Yeah.
there is, you can do, and then trying to prioritize, okay, I think that's what I need to do, is just go, okay, what's actually most likely gonna get me clients, and start with that. And then once that thing is working or not working, and then move on to the next. Because what I'm finding is I'm getting like burnt out because I'm trying to do too much, and obviously do any client work that does come in,
Yeah.
and then everything just gets dropped. Yeah, so I do need to change something. Definitely need to write some more goals down, and maybe strip back on a few things and just focus on LinkedIn maybe as the main thing for now, and then I'll feel less less burnt out.
Yeah, and it goes
I'm trying
back
to do
to
too much.
saying, why am I doing this? So you you want to start a blog. Well, what's the reason for that, and what will it do for me? And it's sort of, rather than thinking I need to do all this stuff, do what's right for you. And if it's not working, don't do it, because otherwise, yeah, you get burnt out. There's only so much we can do. So it's about looking at what isn't working, what actually can you change, and then the next step of this is so brands you need to focus on improving. Yeah. What messages do you want to get across in 2023? What do you want to be known for in 2023? So think about that. Might be what you're doing now or what you're focusing on now, but it might not be. Does anybody want to?
Yeah, I've got something on this, where when I started, I had two avenues, where I'm focusing on currently freelance interior design. So I want to help small businesses, interior design firms, like get more work done if they've got too much work on. So I'm focusing on that at the moment. But when I started, I had this other avenue where I was doing properties for property developers. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm really struggling on what I'm posting, because there's two very different audiences. So when I was posting on Instagram, I was just like, what, like this post only does this person but not this person. And it got to a point where I did burn out, and I was just like, cool, I need to drop one of these, because this is becoming very, like, I'm not sure what I'm doing. So I had to choose which one I thought I was going to enjoy more. So I've done that in the last 2 months. So I'm just focusing on the freelancing. But yeah, I'm still not sure whether that is the only one I'm going to focus on, because it was more of a trial thing of just see what happens. So yeah, because it's early days, it's I don't want to niche myself too soon, but I also just want to see what works and what I enjoy, and then focus. And that's another reason why I've not gone all out with like putting a full-on brand together, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself before I've actually worked out what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that is my sort of key thing for 2023, is what am I doing, who my audience is, and then developing my brand. Because at the moment I don't feel like it reflects me as a person. It's very just like, it does what it does for now. But I want it to be a bit more colorful, a bit more like me. But yeah, so yeah, sorting out that key message, who my audience is, and yeah, what my touch points are going to be, and developing my brand and my website.
So you kind of want, you kind of need to get the right key messages across, not necessarily sure what they are, but you need to focus on them.
Yeah.
They don't really know what they want to focus on and whether it's different. This is probably something you need to go away and think about for next. What am I doing next year? Okay, so when you focus on, when you know your focus, you can then plan your action tasks. So in that worksheet that I've sent you all and I've put in the chat, there's 3 key actions for next year. So if you know what you're going to focus on, what are the top 3 things you can do to get you there? So there's probably a huge long list of things, but what are the kind of top overarching things? So like Rebecca needs to focus on her key messages, and then she needs to work on her brand as part of that. So that's 2 of your actions right there, Rebecca. The next step from your brand review then is putting a plan in place. So you've got your top overarching actions, and then you put in the little tasks that will get you there. And I like to do this by quarter. So I'll just briefly touch on this, but then once you've gone away and done your brand review, we can catch up on this. So for example, this last year, I've already mentioned that I wanted to focus on reaffirming who I am and what I do. I'll be honest with you, the first quarter was out, I was inundated with client work, and it was just a case of getting through that client work. But what I did was I said, right, I know I need to reaffirm what I want, who I am and what I do. What are the key things I need to do that? So I need to get to grips with my marketing. So the second quarter I spent focusing on my marketing and getting my head around the best way to market myself. It was a bit ad hoc, but I was doing a lot of work in the background. The third quarter was about rebranding. So I got people in to help me with that, and I sorted that out. And then this final quarter is all about getting the systems and processes in place, because that is all about nurturing my existing clients as well as bringing new clients in, and without things in the background. So I had a different kind of focus for each quarter. And then when I knew what I needed to do in terms of the actions and the focus, I then broke down the steps that would get me to doing that. And that is the best way to give yourself a lot of focus. So if you can say, right, for the first quarter, I'm going to focus on my services and work on them, and what do I need to do to sort my services out, you know that that's what you're doing. And then the second quarter, you've got just one focus, and so everything you're doing is getting you to hit that kind of one focus, because that means you're not going off and doing lots of different things and not getting anything done. You're just getting one chunk done of that bigger kind of goal. So that is the aim for after your brand review. Once you know what you need to focus on, what you're going to drop, what you want to do, you kind of got a big list, probably got a big to-do list, but some of that stuff's not going to be relevant. So you need to know what your focus is to then go, let's go back and see what we said in our brand review and what is relevant for that focus. So that kind of makes it a bit easier to plan your goals. Ant's left us, he's all about goal planning at the minute, so I'd be interested to see what he says about that. Does anybody have any questions? I know we've run over a little bit.
I do, Fliss. It's similar to what Rebecca was saying a bit. I think we're aiming at two very separate audiences, I think, in terms of social media. So we're wanting to contact employers or get sort of interest from employers, but also people with disabilities. And sort of my question would be like, is there any reason why we can't do that on one platform, or should we separate platforms, or just anything around that? Is it?
I would, when it comes to looking at your audience, when you know what their problems are and things, when you're doing your client avatars, is something I do with my client, I would say, where are they? Where are they looking for their information, and where are they? And look at where they are before deciding what platforms you're on, because it might be, like Rebecca, your two audiences might be in completely different places. So that makes it a bit easier for your messaging. If you find that they're all in the same place, you can find that kind of common ground of, right, what is the commonality between these two audiences, and then communicate kind of what you do in that way. You can say, well, I do this and I do this, but I do it in two different ways. Okay. So you can either split it out, or you can look at kind of the common themes and talk about that. That's what I do. I've got two audiences, similar themes. Really, I use Instagram for just one audience, to be honest with you, but similar themes, and I then talk about, right, this is kind of what I will do for you, because I flip it in a different way, which we can cover another time. This is what I can do for you, and if you want that, we can do that in two different ways.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, like you said, initially work out where they are, and then if we do have to do the crossover, then work out.
Because you might find them in completely different places, and it does make your marketing easier. Might mean that you have to do a bit more work in doing different marketing, but you might also say, well, I'm going to focus on one audience for the first half of the year. So you put a bit less, you put more effort into LinkedIn, for example, than Instagram. But it does make it easier if you can do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, I was going to say about that. Like, I think my freelance clients are definitely LinkedIn. Like, I need business stakeholders who run these businesses that I know they're there. But I know, like, the property developers aren't really there, and that would be more Instagram. So I guess I could.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I was finding was then having to create 2 lots of content, which was like a lot of work. Sometimes you've got stuff that does cross over, like general interior design stuff. Like if I had a reel about me making a mood board or whatever, like that's fine for both because it's relevant. But like there's some things when I'm like doing a more salesy post or like, hey, this is what I can offer. That's where I was finding like, what am I putting that I offer? Because people are getting confused as to who my audience is. I guess splitting the 2 maybe would be better for me.
And sometimes certain posts you can write about a same theme but spin it in 2 different ways potentially. But you might find that your property developers, you might find them more at networking events, so actually then you don't even need to create content for them because you're meeting them face to face. So that means you're not creating 2 types of marketing. You're doing it in, like, networking is marketing. It's just a slightly different type of marketing. So that's really useful as well. Any other questions about anything we've covered today? I hope you're not going away going, oh my god, I've got too much to do, because the idea of this is when you know what your focus is, and you that huge long to-do list will probably be halved, because some of it you'll look at and go, I don't need to do that. Like Francesca, you might go, I don't need to do an email list right now, let's bin that for now. So you're not thinking, oh my god, I need to do my email list. You're going, doesn't matter, I don't need that. So please don't go away and cry. Right, so I will send you the recording after this. You've got your worksheet, and then if anybody wants to book in like a virtual brew to chat anything through, please do. And then I will send you, if you're happy to, I'm going to send you some details also about putting a plan of action together, because I think that's the next step from this. But I didn't want to overwhelm you today because obviously it's all about reviewing it first. So thanks for your time, everybody. I've had a lovely time. It's really useful doing this, actually, to be honest with you. So I hope you've learned from other people as well. I have. I'm going to go away and do that webpage that Debbie suggested straight away. And I will speak to you all very soon. Have a lovely Thursday. I'll probably send this recording out at the end of today so you can crack on with your reviews, and just shout if you've got any questions. But thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Bliss.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bliss.
Bye. Thank you.